The following is a paid presentation by Siniard Law Injury Attorneys, paid for by Siniard Law Injury Attorneys. The Siniard Law Show, answering your legal questions, featuring attorneys Tommy Siniard, Bart Siniard, and your host, Aaron Dacey. This is the Siniard Law Show.
Hello and welcome to the Siniard Law Show. Tonight we're talking about homeowners insurance and claims. You can call 844-7000-LAW to leave us a voicemail with your question, or you can email us at questions@siniardlaw.com. Siniard Law is a father-son personal injury firm right here in the Tennessee Valley focused on giving back to the community through legal education. Siniard Law is accredited by the Better Business Bureau, has been recognized 4 consecutive years by best law firms in America. They've got almost 300 5-star Google reviews, and they have recovered more than $200 million for their clients. Now to our topic of the night, homeowners insurance and claims. Bart Siniard and Barnes Hayward, attorneys from Siniard Law, are here to give you details and answer your legal questions. Good evening. This will be a good topic.
Good evening. Yeah, it's a sticky, frustrating topic for a lot of people, but it's something people need to know before the bad thing happens, the tornado, the house fire, whatever it may be. So
that's right.
Looking forward to jumping into that and trying to educate some people about what they maybe can do in advance with their insurance policy so that they're correctly covered.
Exactly. So you don't want to wait until the emergency happens. So you guys are going to get us prepared, and we hear from an insurance agent on what to buy too.
Yeah, we got Nick Tanalou, insurance agent I respect, who's going to be on the show a little bit later. To kind of give us some do's and don'ts and pointers. So we're trying to just make this so everybody who's watching it can maybe check with their insurance agent tomorrow, make sure they're correctly covered.
All right. Well, if you have legal questions on this or any other topic, you can email us at questions@siniardlaw.com or call us at 844-7000-LAW. Your question may be featured on the Siniard Law Show. Now to our legal tip of the week, what to do when you need to make a homeowner's claim.
Making a homeowner's claim is always a frustrating process. You're going through something that is difficult, whether it's a water leak or storm damage or a fire, heaven forbid. But the first thing to know is usually there's a window in which you have to report a claim. If you've had some incident, most insurance policies require a 30-day notice period. So you need to go ahead and report it. Don't wait around. Usually that's not an issue, but I have seen people who've had a water leak and they didn't really do anything about it, and then they discovered, it may be due to hail damage, and we've run into some difficulties. But that's the first thing to know. Go ahead and report it and make a claim so that there's no issue about them arguing later you didn't timely report it. And then the next thing is insurance companies really focus on documents, photos, videos. Go ahead and start thinking about that. Take photos of what's happened, even if it's just on your cell phone. Take some short videos. If you're getting people out there to provide quotes, save a copy of those. You want to make sure you have all the evidence, because that's how insurance companies deal, really.
Yeah, and if you're in the position where you're making a claim, but even if you're wanting to be protective or proactive, one thing that we would recommend, I think Nick's going to talk about this, certainly go over your coverages, but I think it's important with homeowners claims to go ahead and start documenting things before you ever have to make a claim. And you can make it like a yearly practice to go through your home with your cell phone, and you can take a video of the contents of your home, not because there's a claim to be filed, but just in case a claim ever has to be filed, that you can document all of your belongings and the things that you might be making a replacement or repair claim for.
Yeah.
Or something might change in that 1 year. You might have made updates to your home or whatever.
Right.
But then you don't have to prove, I do have solid wood cabinets in my kitchen.
It's hard to prove, and sometimes just hard to remember if you have a house fire where everything is gone. What all did I have?
Oh, it's easy to forget,
And you want to make sure you know not only everything you had, but so that you have a photo or at least a video showing everything where you can say, that's what that costs, that's what that costs.
Yeah,
So
and
it's good
replacement
advice.
cost is a totally different thing
Yeah,
we'll talk about
we'll
too.
get into that
Yeah,
with Nick, for
definitely.
sure. Yeah.
Let's get to our viewer questions. This one comes from Steve in Hartselle. He says, I had a water leak in my house when our hot water heater broke. I'm having to replace a lot of flooring, baseboards, etc. My insurance company is refusing to cover the damage because they said it was a slow leak and not considered an incident under my policy. Do they have the right to make this decision without my input?
I've seen this before. I'm sure you have too. So to answer it in a short way is it's going to depend on what his actual insurance policy says. Any dispute as to what insurance covers and doesn't cover is supposed to be answered within the fine print of the insurance policy that nobody ever reads until there's a debate as to whether something's covered. A lot of insurance policies only cover what they define as incidences, and then they will have a definition section. It's like a dictionary of what is an incident. And then some policies describe it different ways, but I've seen that. I can't remember which carrier it was with, which insurance company, but there are some insurance companies where if the damage occurs over an extended period of time and it's not reported, it's not considered an incident. And since it's not an incident, it's not coverable. Have you ever run into anything similar to that?
I've run into this exact provision in a policy that says that if it's not a sudden occurrence, like a pipe explodes and very quickly there's significant water damage, then it's not a covered claim. But Bart's right. All of these claims are going to come down to what's defined in the policy. And, insurance policies, they're written in a way that makes them very unclear. And generally that works to the insurer's benefit, but sometimes it can work to our benefit as well, because now we're arguing about what the policy says and essentially trying to fit this set of facts into a covered claim. He wanted to know whether they could deny the claim without his input. Yes, they can. That's just standard claims handling practices, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it stops there. One thing that I would look at is whether there's like an appraisal clause inside of the policy where you can actually have someone come out and take a look at the damage. The other option is call a plumber, have an expert come out to take a look and give you an opinion that's written down in their report about whether or not it was a sudden occurrence or whether it was a slow leak that occurred over time.
Right.
But everything comes back to the policy.
Yeah, you're going to have to find some evidence to combat them. If that's what the policy says, it's what it says. Like Barnes said, plumber, any other documentation you can get from somebody who has experience. In this situation, it probably would be a plumber, or maybe a hardwood flooring specialist. You could say, no, this wasn't going on months. This happened fairly recently. Maybe all you need to get them to change their mind.
Gotcha. We have another email. This one's from Jessica in Phil Campbell. She says, we had damage to our home when a neighbor's tree fell on our roof. I had actually asked my neighbor to cut down that specific tree more than a year ago, and my neighbor never did. Our homeowner's insurance is paying to fix our roof, but we have a $4,000 deductible. Is there any way I can force my neighbor to pay that deductible since this is their fault?
Well, your homeowners will cover it, but there is the deductible, and that's the question. Can you recover your deductible from your neighbor? It's going to come down to a few practical considerations. Number one, what kind of evidence do you have? Was it just a verbal discussion y'all had, or is there any proof?
How
proof
weird
for
would that be, though, if you had to ask your neighbor, will you write that down?
Yeah, don't do that. But if you got a text message or an email or something like that, well, maybe it's worth a shot. You have to prove they were negligent in order to recover any money from them. You can't hold a neighbor liable just because a tree fell, because a windstorm came through, or because you thought it was dead. You have to prove that they actually knew the tree was dead and at risk of dying and falling over. And then to prove all that, then your upside of filing a lawsuit against them is $4,000. I mean, I usually tell people it's probably not worth it because your homeowners is going to cover the vast majority of it, and all you're going to do is create a really bitter relationship with a neighbor.
Yeah,
just for a deductible.
Yeah.
At that point.
Yeah. Frustrating, I know, but you know.
But let people know. I mean, you hear people complain all the time about, oh, I've got a neighbor who's got a tree, looks like it's going to fall down any day. And communicate with your neighbor about it through text. I mean, I've seen cases where someone says something and then the neighbor responds like, oh yeah, I totally agree. I got to get that taken care of. And then that tree falls and, lands on a car or the house. And that communication could be really, really helpful.
All right, great. Thank you very much for answering these questions. And when we come back, Bart is going to speak with an expert in insurance on what we need to look for whenever we're buying homeowners and other insurance, and what we need to do if we file a claim.
Harrison Brothers brings together the best of North Alabama. Our curated selection of local art, fine crafts, and gourmet food are great gifts for everyone on your shopping list. We carry books by local authors, and our toys pique a child's imagination. At Harrison Brothers, your purchases support artists and artisans right here in the Tennessee Valley. Located on Huntsville's Courthouse Square since 1897, Harrison Brothers is more than a store. It's a tradition.
North Alabama's best attraction is not its mountains, or its rivers, or even its rockets. It's our people, honest, hardworking people, who make us proud to do what we do. When people in our communities are injured in an accident,
we help them find insurance companies based in big cities far from here.
We are honored to help people get the compensation they deserve.
Siniard Law, nationally recognized, locally trusted.
Bart Siniard is joined by an insurance expert to tell us what we need to look for and the questions we need to ask when we are getting homeowners insurance.
Thanks, Aaron. I'm here tonight with Nick Tanalou, who is an insurance agent with Alpha, and he just happens to be my insurance agent. And I thought it'd be a good idea to have Nick come on and kind of break down homeowners insurance, car insurance, life insurance, all the things that people need. But sometimes it's too complicated, or maybe people think it's too boring to understand. Doing what I do for a living, I know how incredibly important having the right kind of insurance is, and Nick does a great job. So Nick, I appreciate you being on the show tonight.
I appreciate it, Bart. Thanks for having me, man.
Absolutely. I want to talk first about homeowners insurance. And there's really two different types in regards to, if your house burns down or is taken off by a tornado, actual cash value replacement versus some other things. Can you walk us through that type of, difference between homeowners insurance policies?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it pretty much comes down to two: replacement costs and actual cash value. Most of the policies I write are replacement cost. Actual cash value is basically replacement cost minus depreciation. So, for example, let's just say a fire happens, you're trying to replace items. You've got a 10-year-old TV. When you first bought that TV, it was $2,200. Replacement costs, if you have that on your policy, it's going to cover it for something new or similar in value.
Really?
Actual cash value is going to depreciate that. So you paid $2,200 5 years ago, you may only get, $600 after depreciation.
Is that a discussion you need to have with your agent when you're deciding?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Every time I do a policy, I double check. I want to make sure replacement cost is on there. I just want my customer, my insured, to know that they're getting the best policy they can when they come to us. And that's what I think replacement cost is.
Yeah, I'm sure replacement, it must be more expensive. Can you give us any kind of ballpark, maybe in percentages or whatever?
Well, on the replacement side of it, where we see the most, if you have a mortgage on your house, you're going to need replacement costs. The bank's going to want it on there. Now, for personal property side is where the actual cash value can come into play. If you've got a customer that says, hey, I've got all these, handy-down sofas, TVs, whatever it may be, we could maybe look at, do you want to just get money for what you have instead of something new? And that could save them $160 to $220 on average a year on insurance. And some people would rather go that route.
Yeah, I got you. It's an individual decision. Tell us, most people get homeowners insurance, car insurance, whatever, and don't look at it for years. And their premium payments just get auto drafted. How often do people need to review their insurance coverages?
Yeah, I say yearly, maybe every other year, whatever fits your speed, especially on the homeowner side. People go to Lowe's these days and go get a shed. We might need to include that on your policy because you may not have enough other structures coverage that's going to cover that if a storm takes it. A lot of people are doing renovations these days, putting cabinets in, adding a pool. Those type of things are what we need to see so we can make sure your policy's up to date. You pay all these premiums. We want you to have the most up-to-date policy. So if Brad Travis calls and there's a tornado on the way, we've got you covered.
Yeah, that makes sense. What is your biggest piece of advice to people when they're shopping around for different insurance companies? Obviously, you work with Alpha.
Yeah.
And Alpha's got a great reputation. I'm an Alpha customer, an Alpha insured. But when you're, coaching people as to how to maybe shop around for insurance, what are some tips you give people?
Well, the biggest thing most people look at is the bottom dollar. They look at the price. The main thing I want to make a focus on is I want to make sure your coverage is adequate. I want to make sure we're rebuilding that house for price per square foot that we need to. I also recommend reaching out to body shops, reaching out to roofers in the area, people that are trusted in this area when a claim happens, because you'd be surprised reaching out to a roofer or a body shop and saying, hey, I've got quotes from here, here, and here. Which one would you recommend? And those guys are dealing with the claims on a daily basis and dealing with the insurance companies.
Yeah, I tell clients, insurance is something you pay for, but the product itself is only needed when something bad happens. And that's what you're paying for. And you need somebody that's going to be there to not nickel and dime you over things. Anyways, I'm getting off on a tangent. But I appreciate that. Let's talk about car insurance. Set aside homeowners for a second. And let's talk specifically about liability coverage with car insurance. That's the only kind that's required by law in Alabama. How much liability insurance should somebody have?
So state minimum of Alabama is going to require you to have 25, 50, 25. At our agency with me and Tiana, I recommend at least 100, 300, 100. And how I kind of draw that up to the customer is just when you're driving down the road today or tomorrow, look outside and see how much these cars are worth these days. That last 25 number on the state minimums is going to cover you for property damage. If you get deemed at fault in a wreck and you total a 2024 Sierra and that car is worth $40,000, your insurance is up to $25,000 and you may be on the hook for the rest of it.
Yeah, they may get a judgment against you and send you to collections.
Exactly. So I just recommend, and what people don't realize is the 100, 300, 100, it may only be $3 to $5 extra a month.
Yeah.
And that goes a long way when you're protecting your valuables, all of these type of things.
Right. Nobody thinks about insurance until something bad's happened. And you can't go back and fix your policy and make it retroactive. It's got to be in effect before that something bad event happens. So I encourage everybody, go look at your policy and talk with your agent now. I want to talk about something that's really important to what I do for a living, representing people who are hurt in car accidents. And that specific coverage is uninsured/underinsured motorist coverage. Can you tell people a little bit about what that is?
Yeah, underinsured motorist is basically going to be out there for, and the percentage more than me, there's a lot of percentage of drivers that don't have insurance.
It's just shy of 20%.
20%, wow.
Yeah.
I think last time we spoke it was 19, so it's creeping up on there. So basically what that's going to do is if somebody were to get in a wreck and be deemed at fault, injure you, and they don't have insurance, that's your coverage.
Yeah.
And I think after we spoke about it, I went home that day and raised mine to the highest level I could.
Absolutely.
Just because you don't ever want to put your family at risk on that sense.
Yeah, we handle so many car accident cases, and so many times the driver doesn't have car insurance. It's shocking. But the great thing about uninsured/underinsured motorist coverage is A lot of people just have the bare minimum of $25,000 in liability coverage. And if you've got a real injury, you broke your leg or something where a surgery's needed, $25,000 isn't enough, and you don't want to have to chase this person trying to collect on their assets. So it's critically important. Well, Nick, any other words of wisdom you want to give us as an insurance offerer?
I would just say, you said it perfectly. Get in touch with your agent. If you hadn't checked in with them lately, make sure your policy's up to date. Make sure you've got everything covered the way it should be. And that's my best advice out there.
All right, Nick, I really appreciate your time.
Awesome, Bart. Thank you.
When the Siniard Law Show returns, we'll get to more of your legal questions, and we'll tell you how you can sign up for the Siniard Law Firm's free monthly newsletter.
At Siniard Law, we believe those wrongly injured deserve compassion. We are honored to help the people of North Alabama get the compensation they deserve. We take pride in our results, and we pursue every option to ensure the best outcome for our clients.
Siniard Law means you will have people on your side and who will do whatever they can for getting you what you need to continue your life in a comfortable manner.
Siniard Law, nationally recognized, locally trusted.
Welcome back to the Siniard Law Show. If you would like to sign up for Siniard Law's newsletter, which provides free monthly legal tips, just scan the QR code or sign up at siniardlaw.com. Now let's get back to our topic tonight and more of your questions. Tonight we're talking about homeowners insurance. Tim in Fort Payne writes, we had hail damage to our room more than a year ago. We have it documented by 2 different roofing companies that it's hail damage, but our insurance company, which is State Farm, refuses to pay to replace our roof. They keep saying it's normal wear and tear. We now have a water leak in one of our bedrooms and cannot afford to pay the full cost of replacing the roof on my own. Do I need a lawyer? And if so, how do lawyers charge for this type of work?
We have handled a lot of hail damage claims. There was pretty big hailstorms throughout North Alabama in both May of 2024 and May of 2025. And then there was also one back, I can't remember, August of 2023. Anyways, some particular insurance companies are more prone to deny hail damage claims, particularly if your roof is older and there are some signs of wear and tear. I've had several clients who got a roof that's 15 years old, and they're saying, we don't see any hail damage. This is all just wear and tear. And we've filed a lot of lawsuits. I know you've had a few as well, trying to contest that. He probably does need a lawyer with this particular insurance company. They're not going to change their mind. And how we handle the case is we request that they reevaluate, but also while we're doing that is I hire an independent licensed adjuster. That's an insurance professional who doesn't work for any one insurance company. He's like an independent contractor that can be hired by anybody. And they usually have, a higher level of expertise. And I'll get that independent adjuster to actually go assess my client's roof and give me opinion. And I'll say, and I tell him, tell me the truth. I'm not trying to, create some argument that we shouldn't be making. Most of the time he goes, yeah, this is hail damage. And he provides a report. It's multiple pages with photographs. And sometimes that's good enough to get the insurance company to change their mind. Sometimes it's not. And we've had to file lawsuits for breach of contract in bad faith. And I've got one from the May 2024 storm where the case is still pending.
Wow.
It hasn't gone to trial yet and won't until next year. So walk us through. I think he also asked, how do we get paid in those?
Yeah, so, in the cases that we take, the roofing cases that we take, we work on a contingency basis. And what you need to know about that is that there are some lawyers who expect payment up front in the way of a retainer, and then they bill by the hour. That's not how we're compensated. In fact, you don't have to pay us up front for anything. A consultation is free. And then from that point forward, we're only paid if we're successful in making a recovery on your behalf. and it's a percentage of what we recover on your behalf. And depending on the nature of the case and the facts, that percentage might vary slightly, but in general for roof cases, it's usually somewhere around 25% if the case has to be filed. It may go to a third if it's in court. But if for some reason we took the case, we filed it and litigated it, and then we weren't successful in making a recovery on behalf of the client, we just eat all of that. So that never gets passed along to you. Again, it's only if we make a recovery on your behalf.
And I should say that's true for every type of client we have, is we don't charge out of pocket anything for a client to meet with us or to take their case. That being said, we only take a case if we feel good about it, because we're only getting paid if we win the case, whether that's a settlement or verdict. So, we do have people call me and say, I just can't take that case. It's because I don't have a lot of confidence it's a winnable case for one reason or another. But the cases we do take, we never send a bill to the client. If we lose the case for whatever reason, they don't owe us any money. So there's no financial downside to calling a law firm like ours. It's not going to cost you any money out of your own pocket.
Right, and this guy, if he tried to deal with that himself, he's going against some big-time professionals.
No doubt. And I will say for roof claims, go ahead and call us right off the bat before you go and replace your roof, because there is a sense of urgency for you replacing a roof that's damaged, but we want to make sure that we can document before the roof is replaced all of the damage, and then we can use that evidence to combat what the insurance company's opinion was.
Okay. Our last question this evening comes to us from Angie in Moulton. She says, we had some bad wind damage that tore off part of the roof on our detached garage. Our insurance company is saying our garage is not covered because it's not attached to the house. Can they do this? Our agent never told us about this, and it's going to cost us more than $10,000 to fix all this damage.
So, to Angie, it may not be covered. You're going to have to dig out the policy. If you don't have it, ask your agent for a certified copy. They'll get it to you. And look into the definition sections of what's covered.
Yeah. I mean, Nick mentioned it in his interview, but call your insurance agent and just go through what you have and make sure that you have all the appropriate coverage. And I promise you, your insurance agent is going to be happy to sell you some more insurance.
Right. It's a benefit to them to cover more.
It's better to be covered now before the bad thing happens.
Yeah.
Because you can't go back and retroactively change your policy. You just can't. It's what's in effect at the time of the incident.
You guys have done a great job preparing us in advance, educating us. We appreciate it. Bart Siniard and Barnes Hayward from Siniard Law for answering all of our legal questions. And we look forward to hearing from you, our viewers, with your questions about insurance, car accidents, nursing home issues, or any legal topic. You can email us at questions@siniardlaw.com or call our voicemail line at 844-7000-LAW. Join us next Sunday night after the late news. Good night.
The preceding was a paid presentation by Siniard Law Injury Attorneys, paid for by Siniard Law Injury Attorneys.